IBC Bank believes in doing more for local communities. Every year, IBC Bank gives back by investing in countless worthwhile endeavors. IBC Bank invests in our youngest community members by presenting Minitropolis, a school program that teaches students leadership and the importance of responsibility. From supporting local nonprofit organizations to helping present school programs, IBC Bank is devoted to making a positive impact in people's lives and contributing to the prosperity of future generations.
This has been a truly exciting year at IBC Bank. Having challenged ourselves to become the community bank of choice that dominates and delivers on the expectation of leadership. And boy, have we delivered.
IBC Bank offers free checking accounts, is open 7 days a week, even on Sunday. With 29 convenient locations throughout Hidalgo County and convenient hours of service, IBC Bank does more for you. IBC Bank takes pride in organizing events that bring together our community leadership. Outings such as Empresarios and RGV Women with Purpose provide a vital opportunity for business owners and community leaders to unite. Together, we explore and educate the public and business community on events and changes that affect our economy. United we stand, and IBC Bank stands with you to help ensure the continued growth and prosperity of our local communities.
Good afternoon, and thank you for joining us today on the Monitor's YouTube channel. I'm Naxieli Lopez Puente, and this is the second of 4 debates for the McAllen School District. Right now, we have the Place 5 candidate with us, Daniel Vela. Thank you so much for being with us today.
Absolutely. Thank you for hosting it. I think what the Monitor is doing is fantastic. People at McAllen need to see what's going on.
Absolutely.
Appreciate y'all's efforts.
And we also want to thank our sponsor, IBC Bank. Unfortunately, your opponent, Don Delaney, couldn't be here today. However, we will begin with 1-minute opening remarks. So the floor is yours, Mr. Vela.
Thank you. Thank you again for the Monitor's hosting of this event. It's a very crucial part of what happens in McAllen. And I really hope it brings out more voters because people really don't realize how important a school district is in our community. They need to come out and vote, voice their opinions by voting. Thank you. Danny Vela, and I am running for my 4th term on the board, McAllen ISD School Board. I am probably the most experienced member of the board at this point in time, and I'm proud of that. Not only am I experienced on the board, but I'm experienced in business matters here in McAllen. I'm a lifelong resident of McAllen, and I've owned and operated more than one business here. My oldest was 37 years now. We just had our anniversary, starting our 38th year in business. I'm very proud of that, and it's been very successful. And I hope to carry that experience in business, in living in McAllen, in raising my kids in McAllen, and having graduated through McAllen school districts. All of that experience is invaluable to my serving on the board, and I'm looking forward to a 4th term.
Okay, great. All right, let's get started with our questions. The first one will deal with obesity and food. Our area was recently named the fattest in the country, and childhood obesity and diabetes are a growing concern. What can a school district do to curb this trend?
You're right. It is an issue. As a pharmacist, a practicing pharmacist for 38 years, I see it every day. I see it in young children. I see it in middle-aged adults and in elderly. It is a huge problem. The Valley, South Texas, it's a culture thing. We need to change that culture. We, as the population. As a school district, we need to continue to implement good, healthy eating habits, varieties in the foods, introducing healthy foods to our kids. We provide breakfast and lunch for most of our kids in the school district, and we provide for them a well-balanced, measured caloric intake meals, and that's important. And if we can start educating our kids very early on that eating the right foods is good for them long term, it'll be a great thing.
Okay. Now, on the other hand, hunger is a very real problem for the Rio Grande Valley. And as we've seen, schools and nonprofits have been stepping up to ensure that children don't go hungry once they go home. So what is McAllen doing, and what else can it do to stop this?
Right. Like I said earlier, we provide breakfast for our kids. You know, it's hard to teach, or it's hard for a child that's hungry to learn. So we've provided food for them. For the healthy aspect of it, encourages them to come to school, and it helps them to absorb knowledge much easier. Good healthy meals at lunch times. We send them home sometimes with a snack in the evenings. We try to provide enough food for them during the day. During the summer months, we provide our Wheels on Meals, if you will, where we go out into the neighborhoods and provide breakfast, lunch, and sometimes dinner for our neighborhood kids and their parents. Because it is important, again, that they understand the importance of good nutrition.
And speaking a little bit on that, I had seen some reports recently where some school districts, for example, are taking the food that is not being consumed that day, and they're packing it up and sending kids home with an after-school meal. And then there's other districts here in the Rio Grande Valley who have implemented pantries in school. Are those things that you would support?
Absolutely. Federal guidelines don't let school districts redistribute that food, that we can't do that. But there has been initiatives by students. There's one currently being done at the IB Academy here in McAllen, the International Baccalaureate, as a personal project by one of the students. The energy bar.
Oh, okay.
And what they do is the kids are voluntarily taking foods that they don't finish at lunchtime or breakfast, and they're dropping it off voluntarily at the food bar, energy bar. It can be repackaged, redistributed to those kids who on the way home need a snack or whatever. And it's been so successful at the high school level that that the kids are replicating that model into the middle schools and eventually into the elementary schools. So it's kids helping kids under the direction of great staff and teachers at our schools.
One of the hot button issues are guns in schools. School safety, you know, it's a big issue. Some lawmakers believe that arming teachers is the solution. Others disagree. Where do you stand?
It's a tough call. Everyone says, well, arm the teachers. So now you've got teachers shooting across hallways, or maybe shooting at the wrong person, or now you've got law enforcement coming into the schools looking for a potential shooter. They see a person with a gun, so they may become a victim. It's a tough call. Am I for school safety? Absolutely, absolutely, and we will do everything we possibly can. And I guess the best way to prevent guns being held in school by the wrong people is to not let them in with those guns. The district recently, we have implemented a lot of security measures at front doors, testing everybody who comes in, making sure that the perimeter doors are locked and not accessible like they have been in the past, perimeter fencing around our campuses. We're doing everything we possibly can to ensure the safety of all of our kids and staff without putting guns in school. If we have to, it's going to be a tough call. Are the staff trained well enough to use a gun? Do they know what they're shooting at? Do they know who to shoot at? There's too many questions that need to be answered. If someone can present a plan that totally trains and educates everybody on the proper, then we would certainly consider something like that.
On the other hand, many school districts across the Rio Grande Valley have their own police departments. But there are some who argue that having police in schools is actually hurting students instead of helping them. What are your thoughts on having police officers inside of schools?
We've always grown up learning to respect police officers. And what better place for our kids to learn about the respect that they should have for police officers than in our schools. We have police officers in all of our campuses, accessible to all of our kids. We have them at our athletic events. Our police officers are friendly. They are engaging. They are interacting with our kids. Our kids see them as a friend. He's there to protect me. And as long as the children are brought up and encouraged to respect police officers, as adults, they will have much more respect for our police officers. I'm very proud of the police department we have in McAllen ISD. They do a phenomenal job. They have trained for almost any incident, if you will, that may come about. They're well trained. They collaborate with our local city police. They collaborate with our county police and law enforcement there, and as well as our state law enforcement. We have a remarkable police department, and what better example for McAllen to put these gentlemen and ladies in front of our kids so that our kids learn how to respect our law enforcement.
Of course, school finance reform is another hot button issue. And so currently, legislators are trying to figure out how best to give more money to teachers. You know, do you do a $5,000 across the board pay raise, or do you do something less and give the district a little more leeway to decide how to spend that extra money? Where do you stand on that?
I'm all for giving the teachers that $5,000. If lawmakers and legislators fund it. In the past, history proves us right when we say that we have too many unfunded mandates in our schools. It's real easy in Austin to sit there and say, you need to do this, but we're not giving you money to do it with. We'll give them the $5,000, and teachers deserve that and more. But we have to be sure that those legislatures provide a mechanism to fund that $5,000. In our school district, it's approaching $8 or $9 million just the $5,000. And for that to recur every year, there has to be a funding mechanism to provide for that money. Without that being mandated today, the funding mechanisms that they provide for our school districts isn't sufficient to carry us forward anyway. So any $5,000 they want us to give, I'm all for it. I'll be the first one to sign up. But they need to provide the funding mechanism to be sure that we're able to carry out that $5,000 raise.
Merit pay is a big issue too. Superintendent Jay Gonzalez recently wrote to the governor saying that advocating for teacher merit pay, but of course a lot of educators are against that. Should teachers be paid based on how well their students perform in the classroom?
Yes and no. Okay? Merit-based pay is the greatest incentive for employees that work in the private sector. If you encourage your sales personnel to sell more, and if they sell more, they will be reimbursed monetarily, they're going to sell more. But that's a self-propagating function. Because they sell more, you bring in more money. In the school districts, for them to say you should pay your high-performing teachers more, okay, fine. Are they going to pay us more when we have high-performing teachers? Are they going to fund us more? Or are they going to force us to take out of the same pie that we're taking out of today? Because if we take out of the same pie today to give one teacher more money, that means somebody else is going to have to get less. So, if we're going to give incentive pay, fine. Fund us that incentive pay. Not only that, if we're going to have incentive pay, teachers should be intimately involved in determining what are the standards for us to give incentive pay. We're not going to teach to the test, because if that would be We don't need teachers to teach to the test. Anybody could teach to the test. We need teachers to teach. Education is an emotional function. For a teacher to teach a kid, that kid needs to be passionate about learning. And the way you get a child to be passionate about learning is to teach in a passionate way. When the passion of teaching and the passion of learning come together, that's when you have a successful learning process. If we could measure that and pay based on that, I think all of our teachers would get incentive merit-based pay.
So it sounds like you don't necessarily agree with the superintendent, which kind of brings me to my next question.
Okay.
Do you have faith in him as an official, as as a leader of the district?
Absolutely. He's our man. He's our quarterback. He is our coach. Any way we want to call it. And we've supported him. I have supported him since the day he took the reins of McAllen ISD. And I continue to support him. I am there to offer advice. I am there to answer any questions he may have on a particular subject. I am there. I don't always agree with him, but then I'm not there to always agree with him. But I am there to support him as long as he's our superintendent. His success is my success, and everyone else that's associated with McAllen ISD's success. So of course I want him to be successful.
In 2015, voters did not pass a $297 million bond that was going to address expansion, or I believe, what was it, overcrowding and renovations at certain campuses. How has the district managed to meet the needs of the students when they didn't have this money from the bond?
The bond wasn't necessary to meet the needs of the students. It was a function of upgrading our facilities, turning them into, I know the term has been coined as 21st century learning centers, changing the way they interacted with staff. And so there were a lot of issues with turning them into different types of learning centers. That doesn't mean we're not meeting the needs of our students. So because the bond failed doesn't mean we're not meeting the needs of our students today. We are meeting the needs of our students today based on the M&O, maintenance and operations funds that we have available to us. We did 2 studies. We did one private, one public. They both arrived that there were needs in the district for facilities. We put it out to the voters. As a trustee, it was my duty to put it out before the voters. The voters turned it down. So now as a trustee, it is my duty to make sure that we have the funds available for the upkeep and improvement of buildings and facilities where we can.
So the state is looking at possibly reducing the tax burden on taxpayers. Should they reduce the tax rate or mandate that the tax rate be reduced, do you think that it would be a good idea to once again go out to the voters and ask for bond money?
Oh, I'm not even thinking bond. I don't think anybody's thinking bond right now. Now, funny you mention that because they do want to reduce the property tax rate, and they want to cap the level of increase that our properties can be worth, right? Most of us received our appraisal values in the last week or so. Well, I don't know if it happened to anybody else, but all of my properties went up substantially. So if they do lower the rate, they have a higher value. They're still going to be collecting property taxes, and at a pretty good clip as well. And the problem with that is, in order to make up for the lower property tax rate, they want to increase sales tax.
Or consumption tax.
Consumption tax. Well, but anyway, last time they did that, they lowered property taxes by 33 1/3%, and they put in place a franchise tax. Well, before the franchise tax part of the bill was completed, they had excluded certain types of services, certain types of industries, so the franchise tax income never met what was lost in the property tax. So that's when they started raising property values to make up that difference. Even though the tax rate was less, property values
Yeah.
have gone up, and they're still going up. This time they want to lower property tax rates again. They want to cap the amount that it'll go up. They want to replace it with property consumption tax. There's some issues with that. Are they taking into account the internet sales and what they're not collecting in sales tax there? Are they taking into account our visitors to the south that won't be coming to buy here anymore because now they're paying 10% tax as opposed to 8% tax? So there's a lot of things that need to be worked out before they
deal with that.
deal with this one.
But I guess coming back to the original question as far as asking voters for more bond money, where do you stand on that?
It's not going to happen. It's not going to happen. I don't see it happening in McAllen. So we will become better stewards.
Enrollment, you know, a lot of schools across the Rio Grande Valley are fighting for those kids that are, you know, either going to other districts or other charter schools. Do you know how many students McAllen is losing, like the rate, and what is McAllen doing to try to retain them?
To give you an exact number right now, I couldn't quote you that number because it's been quoted by different people at different levels. We need to understand where every kid is going, okay? And once we determine where they've gone, why they have gone, and then ask the question, what can we do to get them back? We do lose them to other school districts, but there are other issues, you know, homeschooling. I think there are more kids being homeschooled in McAllen today than there has in a long time, probably ever. Are we losing them to charters? Are we losing them to neighboring districts? And if we are, why are we losing them? And how can we get them back? What's the birth rates in McAllen? I mean, okay? And then something that we can do without answering all of those questions is we can work with our city. I think it's imperative that we do, not only for the good of the city, but for the good of the school district as well, is that we help to reinvigorate our neighborhoods that are around our elementary schools, around our middle schools. We have to somehow make it more feasible, more pleasurable, more welcoming for families to move back into these neighborhoods. We can't have them, they can't make any more babies, but we can certainly encourage those houses to change hands to people who are bringing kids back into our neighborhoods. It's imperative we work with the city. It's imperative that we do everything we possibly can to reinvigorate our inner city neighborhoods.
CTE, Career and Technical Education, another big buzzword right now. School districts across the state are looking to prepare students who are not necessarily looking for a four-year college degree. What is McAllen doing, and what can it do better?
Well, better, you can always become more efficient. You can always become broader in scope. You can always be hire better, the best of more people. But what are we doing? We are expanding the areas of technology training and vocational training. When I was in school, it was building a car and taking a car together and welding. Well, it's much more than that today. We're teaching robotics in school. Why are we teaching robotics? Well, because robotics is now a vocational career for some people. Computer sciences, that's a career choice for some people. Rocketry, we're building rockets, we're shooting rockets. Why? Because we have SpaceX nearby that could become a potential employer for some of our kids. Underwater welding, well, we have a lot of offshore oil rigs that need that kind of talent. We have been very good about exploring all of the different career paths in the career and technology arena. Because you're right, some of those kids can't go to school, aren't able to go to school because of their economic situation. They may need to get out of school as soon as they can to start providing for the family at home. But if they're going to do that, we want to be sure that they're best trained kids to go out there and earn more money than they've ever been able to earn before.
What do you see as the biggest challenge that the district is facing?
Funding. The understanding of most people of how we're funded is a big hurdle. Everyone thinks, well, the state gives you the money, but it's not that easy. McAllen is a property-rich school district, which means that supposedly the values in McAllen are higher than other areas, so our funding is a little bit different from the state. So first of all, you have to understand the funding mechanism as it is today, and it's changing. Right now it's going to change again. And then how do you work within the constraints of that funding? How do you budget? How do you go forward? Since the legislature meets every 2 years, we have to be weary of what's going to come out of that legislative session. Is it going to be the same as it's been, or is it going to change? So funding is the biggest hurdle that I see. If your finances aren't in order, it's tough to run a business.
All right, and I guess one final question before I do closing remarks. What separates you from your opponent? Why should voters choose you?
My experience. Like I mentioned in my opening remarks, my experience, not only my 12 years on the board, not only my being a parent of 4 kids having gone through McAllen ISD, I'm a multi-business owner in McAllen. I've had experience running large business, medium business. I've been with a banking institution for over 30 years. I bring to the board experience as a bank director, the management of money, the way money works. So I think that's invaluable. I'm a resident of McAllen. I was born and raised here. My parents were born and raised here. My brothers and sisters, we've all gone through. I'm a proud Bulldog. That's nothing wrong. Nothing to say wrong with being a Warrior or a Mustang. There was nothing else but Bulldog at the time. Okay, I'm a proud Bulldog, and my youngest daughter is graduating as a Bulldog. And when you grow up here, and you take pride in having lived here, and you take pride in having worked here. I came back from the UT as fast as I could to start my businesses because it was in me to become part of McAllen, part of the growth, part of the success, part of the volunteerism, part of the service. I'm a very proud McAllenite, and I want to serve in any way I can.
All right, perfect. Well, you have 1 minute for closing remarks. This is your time to address the public and ask for their vote.
Like I've mentioned in my remarks, I am proud to be from McAllen. I'm proud to serve in McAllen. My parents taught us from very young, early on in our lives, that giving service back to your community was the greatest thing you could do. I've taken that since I was very young. I've been serving our community in many capacities. I've always tried to do what's right. And something I said when I ran the first time, that my decisions would be based on 3 things. On our staff at McAllen ISD, our community, McAllen, and our kids. And 12 years later, I'm very proud to say that I've taken into account all 3 of those factors in making my decisions. Some have been hard, some have been easy. But in the end, they have all taken into account the 3 factors: our kids, our staff, and our community. I'm proud to have served, and I'm looking very much forward to proudly serving again. I humbly ask for your support and your vote. Thank you very much.
All right, Mr. Vela. Well, thank you so much for being with us here today. I'm glad to hear that. I want to remind our audience that you can catch this again in its entirety at themonitor.com, and remind you that tomorrow we're going to have 2 more debates for the school district and 1 more debate for the city of McAllen beginning at 8:30 a.m. So make sure and tune in tomorrow as well. Thank you so much, and we'll see you then.
IBC Bank believes in doing more for local communities. Every year, IBC Bank gives back by investing in countless worthwhile endeavors. IBC Bank invests in our youngest community members by presenting Minitropolis, a school program that teaches students leadership and the importance of responsibility. From supporting local nonprofit organizations to helping present school programs, IBC Bank is devoted to making a positive impact in people's lives and contributing to the prosperity of future generations.
This has been a truly exciting year at IBC Bank. Having challenged ourselves to become the community bank of choice that dominates and delivers on the expectation of leadership. And boy, have we delivered.
IBC Bank offers free checking accounts, is open 7 days a week, even on Sunday. With 29 convenient locations throughout Hidalgo County and convenient hours of service, IBC Bank does more for you. IBC Bank takes pride in organizing events that bring together our community leadership. Outings such as Empresarios and RGV Women with Purpose provide a vital opportunity for business owners and community leaders to unite. Together, we explore and educate the public and business community on events and changes that affect our economy. United we stand, and IBC Bank stands with you to help ensure the continued growth and prosperity of our local communities.